The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, where we used to read out the date on a blackboard every single day. The year 1999 exists as a stain in my mind, as a memory that just won't go away, no matter how much I try to forget it. 1999 marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and unfortunately, the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refuses to be wiped. It all started with that new, or old, TV. At that time, Pokemon was the latest fad to hit the school. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to that TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30, and Pokemon episodes were back to back, which meant I had to miss an episode every day, something I whined on and on about. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day, and that must be why he went and bought another TV. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, there was just a small old boob tube, with rabbit ears even. It also only had 20 channels available. That didn't include the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care though. I was just thrilled I had my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that only Channel 2, TiVo Kids, was worth watching. So I watched that for a while. It wasn't for another few months until I discovered Channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels, trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed Channel 21 into the remote, hoping that there were more channels. And to my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have kids programs on. The channel was called Cellar Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed broadcasted from the town of Caledon, Ontario, a town very close to my city. The shows I saw on Caledon 21 looked poorly made, and I never understood what was going on in half of them. However, as I grew up, every time I thought about that channel, I realized more and more how messed up the shows were, and I had to ask myself, what the hell was I watching? The following is a list of shows and episodes I remember seeing on Caledon Local 21. How I remember such detail even disturbs me, but I guess things like this stand out in your mind for a while. The channel only ran a few shows, probably because it was only operational between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m. Mr. Bear's Cellar, Episode 12. A very sketchy name if you were to look at it nowadays. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mascot costume who would get a new visitor in his cellar every day, always a kid. The show was filmed with a camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. This episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at a table playing checkers by himself. He sat there playing for a bit until there was a knock at the door. The camera was then looking up the stairs at the door, and there was another knock. Mr. Bear climbed up the stairs and opened the door to reveal 2 young children. One was a boy about my age, and the other was a girl who looked about 8. Mr. Bear danced in delight, and then started talking to the kids. I couldn't hear any of them all that well, but I remember Mr. Bear led them into the cellar, which was quite dark, only lit with a small oil lamp on the table. I can't really remember much more than that, except for him singing a song, which I didn't hear too well either, probably just because of the large bear mask. The episode ended with them playing hide and seek, with the kids hiding in the closet and Mr. Bear counting. Soup and Spoon. I don't even think this one was really a show. I think it was more of a special movie thing. All I know is I stopped watching Caledon Local 21 for a while because I thought this show was too stupid. especially since Pokemon now came on at 4:30 and 5. I don't remember much of this, but it showed a can of soup and a spoon, both attached to strings, swinging back and forth, as if someone was holding them and just dangling them in front of the camera. Interestingly enough, the show was shot in a basement, which looked just like the one used in Mr. Bear's cellar. Like I said, I can't remember much. The only thing I can remember clearly was the end. The entire thing was only half an hour, and just included stuff I found stupid, such as the spoon chasing the soup, trying to eat him. The ending showed a table and about 7 kids sitting around it, each with a bowl of soup in front of them. They were sitting, looking at the camera, but with confused, almost frightened faces. The cameraman then held the can of soup in front of the kids and said, "Spoons ready?" And then it just stopped. It was summer, and I hadn't watched Channel 21 for a while, until one day when I slept over at my friend's house and I decided to check it out again. My friend had gotten a TV in his room for his 6th birthday, so we stayed up very late. For us, it was 9:30, but that was late for us, and watched TV. That's when I remembered 21, and brought it up to my friend. We decided to see if it was on, and to our surprise, it was. They must have changed the broadcasting time. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and me, mostly because it had swearing. However, now when I think about the episode, I realize something was definitely wrong when it was filmed. The episode started with the camera on its side, while it was facing Mr. Bear, who was walking upstairs to the cellar door. The camera then blacked out for a second before fading in, back upright and facing Mr. Bear. There was also another kid talking to him, but this kid looked about 11 or 12. He was talking to Mr. Bear for a while, but I couldn't hear well. Again, it was a crappy camcorder. That was until the kid raised his voice. The kid was saying how it was late and he and his sister needed to go home. You could also hear more voices in the background. I remember Mr. Bear clearly saying, "Get the f*** out. You're not invited," with a deep voice muffled by the bear mask. I remember my friend and I looking at each other and laughing at the mention of the forbidden F word. But the episode got weirder. The kid began climbing the stairs before turning around and saying how he was going to call the police. Mr. Bear began breaking into a run towards the kid, who started screaming and running as well, and then the camera cut out. That was the end of the episode, and the channel then turned to static after. I didn't watch Channel 21 after that. In August, I grew more curious to see Mr. Bear's Cellar for some reason though. The last episode I saw of Mr. Bear was weird and had swearing, which also made me think that the show must have been meant for teenagers. Nonetheless, I flipped onto Channel 21 when my dad was busy. Episode 28. Apparently this episode had been playing for the entire month of August. It was studied a lot by the police. The entire episode was just Mr. Bear sitting in the chair, talking to the audience, saying, "Hello kids, do you want to visit my cellar? If you do, please write me a letter at this address." The screen then switched to a white screen with multicolored letters reading out the address. And that's what was remaining for the rest of the episode. This repeated for about 5 hours every day until September came. And guess what I actually did? I sent Mr. Bear, or whoever portrayed him, a letter. I did it out of curiosity mostly. My dad was okay with it because he thought it was a legit kids show. But then again, he never saw any of what was on Channel 21. So I wrote a letter using my best writing possible. I think I just said how I wanted to meet Mr. Bear, so my dad sent the letter to the address Mr. Bear said on the show. It stayed on all day anyway for some reason. It took about a week to get a response, which I'm surprised I got one. I still have the letter. I received it on August 15th, 1999. The letter read, Dear Elliot, thank you ever so much for your letter. I would love to have you in my cellar. We play games, watch movies, and go fire camping in the middle of the woods. Come to my house at Caledon, Ontario, Canada. I look very forward to having fun with you. Love, Mr. Bear. I can't believe my dad never found this sketchy, because he actually took me to the house. And that's when the police became involved. Those endless questions, the pictures of terrified kids, the woods. That brings me to why I'm writing this blog. That psycho and his friends did some really messed up shit back then. And now it seems like he's trying to get into contact with me again. The entire police thing is coming back. That has brought 1999 back to me. Over a decade later, and it's happening again. Now, what we just read was the beginning, or main part, of 1999. It's a well-known creepypasta. Everyone, I'm sure, knows it by now. If this video does well, I'll cover the updates that were posted, because there's quite a bit of extra reading, so it would make a nice part 2. So if you are wanting that, just let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and I am out.